So this is something new. Welcome to the set of the new show Unverified. This is a show that we are going to be filming from the Fatheads Eyewear studio here in Indianapolis, and we're going to be going live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find the link to Fatheads Eyewear as well as the Unverified YouTube channel in the description. However, the first episode will be simulcast not only on the Unverified channel, but also right here on the David Land channel on YouTube. This is a show where we're going to talk about racing, sports, culture, whatever's on our minds in the way that you remember it. Unfiltered and with that opinion and spice that you've come to expect from not only my content, but from the content of my co-host. You've heard his name probably, and you've definitely read his tweets, but now see his face. I introduce to you my co-host of Unverified, Tony Donohue. Tony?
I hope they've read my tweets. They've either laughed, agreed, or hated them, but that's part of the show, right? It's differencing of opinion, and I would say over the last year or so, you and I have become good friends, and we do differentiate on opinions often, which is great. But yeah, there's going to be some cool history to this show. We're going to give you our opinion on IndyCar, the Indianapolis 500, sports in general. You and I are obviously big Colts and Pacers fans as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think there's a need for this inside of not only just IndyCar, but motorsports in general. And I'm looking forward to being educated on other forms of motorsports that I haven't followed. I know you're a big IMSA guy as well. But yeah, this is something that's been a long time coming, and we've gotten a lot of people together to make this possible, and I'm looking forward to every Tuesday night being with you.
I think it's going to be a great opportunity. To your point, Tony, I think discussions are one of the biggest things that most sports have, and auto racing in particular doesn't really have these kind of shows where it's just two guys sitting in a room talking about the issues of the day. So I think that's super important. This isn't just a two-person show. We've got our resident Zoomer and someone who I think my audience is very familiar with and will be happy to see, Kyle Cuthbertson. And Kyle is really going to be your voice because, of course, this is going to be a live program. And Kyle will be reading your chats and help you guys participate in the show, because we don't just want this to be a Tony and David talking show. We want this to be Kyle contributing and shutting us up when we get too deep in the 94 500. And Kyle, we love the 94 500. But Kyle, kind of talk about this show and why this is exciting for you to be a part of.
Yeah, I'm already pissed you called me a Zoomer.
Sorry, it is what it is.
Yeah, to be the guy behind the scenes to tell you guys when to shut up and to try and piss you guys off. You already pissed me off. This is going great. But to have a show like this, it's kind of in person, is very rare, I would say. It's not a podcast, but I mean, it's that same sort of vibe. I feel like it's gonna be a good time. The fact that we're all in person and here together is pretty cool. It's pretty different.
And I think that was a huge goal going into this, setting this show up, because there are so many shows out there, and nothing against them. I mean, it's the way of the world these days. But when you have the opportunity with an entire crew that you can bring to a studio together to do something of this high of quality, that's something that I know personally I've always wanted to be involved in, and I'm very excited about that. So, Tony, a big day today on the day that we're recording this. Doug Boles announced as the new president of IndyCar, replacing Jay Frye. I just want to kind of start you off by asking, what are your thoughts and feelings on this move? Because I think we're both feeling positive about it. There's no doubt about that. But what are the subtleties that you kind of look at for this move and this transition for IndyCar? What does it mean?
Yeah, look, I don't think that anybody was surprised by the move. You've got Doug Boles, who obviously has done a great job at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's really been a voice of the fans, not only just at IMS, but at IndyCar as well. And for him to elevate who he is by going to IndyCar, you're going to have to make some hard decisions, as we know. And Doug has always been Mr. Nice Guy. Everybody that you talk to says positive things about him. But there's going to be some times where you're going to have to lay the foot down in that position. But yeah, I think it's great moving forward. And really, this is a transition time where IndyCar, remember when we were kids and you had that car that you pulled back and it had the wheels that would wind up and then it would take off? I feel like that's where IndyCar is right now, with Fox coming and doing so much promotion. We saw it in the Super Bowl over the weekend. But this is we're going to look back at the off season or the non-racing season of 2025 going or 2024 going into 2025 to say this was huge. This is what caught IndyCar up to a NASCAR or to a Formula One as far as the popularity goes. So I think it's great for Doug. It's great for the sport of IndyCar. He obviously has the respect of a lot of the fans, the team owners. He's been a team owner before, and the drivers as well. So, nobody likes seeing anybody get fired, first and foremost. And, Jay has always been nice to me personally. But this moving forward, I think it's big for Doug Boles.
High expectations that you've set for Doug Boles for sure. Let me balance that out a little bit. One of the things that I said in my video, and I hate sports, stick and ball comparisons, but I'm going to make one here because I think it's apt. I kind of look at Doug right now. He's quarterbacking the prime New England Patriots. He's Tom Brady in that situation where everything's going well because it's a well-oiled machine. It's a well-run organization. It's always been that way. I almost look in a certain way. You're not going to an 0-6 team, but you're going to a mid-pack team with IndyCar, right? You've got some big wins on the board, but you've got some pretty significant losses to deal with as well.
Yeah.
So how, and you mentioned it, Doug, something that we all kind of know and understand about Doug within the industry is that he tries to be everybody's friend, for better or for worse. That's what he tries to do.
Yep.
But here's the issue with that is, to your point, he's not going to be able to be everybody's friend anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit worried about that difficult hump that he's going to have to get over where Doug might be public enemy number one for a little while or for one decision or another one. How do you think that is going to be dealt with? Do you think he can deal with that?
I think Doug, who has a lawyer's background, who has been in the sport for a very long time, will be fair. Will be fair. And you have to leave any kind of bias you have at the door, which could come into play. Obviously, Connor is his stepson. But I think you're right. I think what you were saying in the NFL or the football analogy is this can either go this way and it's going to be great, or it could go this way and it's like, okay, IndyCar, which in the past has shot himself in the foot many times with many different things. And some of those things might have been the ultimate reason why Jay Frye got let go. We still don't know that. But, for Doug, I just, his vision and the ideas that I think he has and knowing that he's knows what the drivers are going through. He knows what the car owners are going through. And I don't think you could say too much bad. I don't think there's anything you could really say about what he's done at IMS. IMS has continued to grow. Obviously what happened during the pandemic and Roger Penske coming in, Doug was a vital role of continuing to bring fans back to the racetrack. He's not only the face, I believe, of IMS, he's the face of the fan base, right? He's always out on the mounds talking to people. Hey, whatever you need, here's a beer, here's some pizza, here's some donuts. He's always doing those type of things, which I think he'll still be able to do. Maybe it may just be inside the confines of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But again, I think that it's going to be an open door policy with drivers and car owners to say, hey, I disagreed with this, Doug. Can we sit down and discuss it? And I think that can help everybody grow and keep everybody, for lack of a better term, on a level playing field.
Like you mentioned, another key of Doug, which I think is a positive, is that it wasn't that Jay wasn't necessarily an out front guy, but I think that Doug is going to be the first guy we've had since Randy Bernard that is really going to be a face of IndyCar, that is going to have a direct line of communication with the fan base in a public space. Something that Jay Frye did very well, to his credit, was his closed door policy with drivers, teams. He listened to them very, very well. And that was something that helped. You talked about Doug weathering the storm of COVID. I think that's something that helped, IndyCar and Jay weather the storm of COVID, was listening and making sure that everybody was taken care of. But I think now you're about to see that in a very public way, which I think is going to be a comfort to this fan base, which has felt like it's been in a storm for, the better part of the last decade, I would say. I mean, there's been less positive. It feels like, and I'm going to say something a little bit controversial, it feels like every year there's almost less and less positivity going into the season. This has been a bit of a difference because you've had the Fox excitement, But this could be, and I guess this is where we'll leave it for now. Otherwise, Kyle's going to yell at us. This feels like this, to your point, could be the moment where you let the pullback card go.
Yeah.
But what is Doug Boles? What does Doug Boles need for this to be a successful presidency?
First, with Jay Frye, there was a lot of things that were out of his control, right? I mean, we've been
100%.
talking about a new engine manufacturer. We've been talking about a new car. We've been, the hybrid situation that was kind of fumbled.
Yep.
If you think about it, when you've got Ed Carpenter coming out after Iowa talking about, I just slapped an extra 100 pounds on my car for however much the cost was. That's one thing. And I think a lot of it falls on Jay because of the position that he was in. But we've heard drivers, especially like Graham Rahal at Media Day, talked about the great things that Jay has done. So, look, I just want to say this about Jay Frye. Was always great to both of us. Yep. We may never know what the deciding factor was. We can all speculate it was maybe the way the push to pass was handled. Maybe it was the way, this and that. But kind of when it all stacks up, we'll never know. For Doug Boles to be successful, again, it's not just, the competition is there. We know that. Everybody, Alex Dameron's a new marketing guy, right? CMO, he's been there for a while. Everybody has to rise up with this Fox tide. I think Fox is bringing everybody up, whether it's us doing a show, whether it's merchandise, whether it's hopefully landing a video game, hopefully landing an IndyCar presence in a Meijer or a Walmart or a Lego store. I only know that because she took me to the Lego store one time. But here's an opportunity to do all these things. Spend some money, okay?
Yep.
Which has been budget, and Fox is elevating you, and they're spending a lot of money to do so. So far, it's been great throughout the off season. Whether it was being at a college football game, whether it was being, at the Super Bowl over the weekend. But I think for Doug Boles to be successful in this role is, I think, what I just said. Be fair. Explain why something was called or why something was changed or why this happened. I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong, I'm assuming he's going to be in race control. He's going, I know Novak got elevated as well. But I think Doug will be fair. And, like you said, you just can't be everybody's friend all the time. But at the end of the day, it needs to be a level of respect for everybody treated equally. And I think Doug Boles will have no problem doing that.
I think there's a great point you made there, Tony. It's give him the budget, and I said this in my video, give him the rope and let it rip. Because I think Doug could be a great wave of change in IndyCar, but they have to be able to give him that leash.
And you're exactly right. And that leash has to be given from above of IMS and the IMS brass.
That's Mark, that's Roger, that's Doug, that's them.
Yep. And to that point, his track record has proven that he can do that.
Yep.
Okay, Panther Racing, when he was there, was a successful organization. He's been a part of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2013, I believe, was his first year.
Same year as Mark Miles.
And, Doug has always, from my radio days, for those that don't know, I worked at 1070 The Fan here in Indy for 10 years, and every year he would come in and announce the Carb Day concert, bring us some gear. He's a fan favorite. But again, you're going to have to translate that fan favorite of IMS and being the face of IMS to, okay, now I have to play the judge, so to speak, of what's should happen, what's right, what's wrong, what the penalty should be on whatever happens. And you're just going to have to be fair on everything that you hand down.
I think we're going to have a lot more to discuss on this topic. This is not going to be the end of this discussion, but at least it's the end of the discussion for today. If you enjoyed this preview, remember, next Tuesday at 8 Eastern, we'll be broadcasting the first episode of Unverified, not only on the David Land channel, but on our Unverified YouTube channel. And then from the second episode on, will be exclusively on the Unverified channel, but you'll still see clips here of the show on the David Land channel and throughout social media. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we're really excited to get this show on the road. If this is anything to indicate it, I think we're going to be in for some fun times ahead.